Driving at night already carries its own risks, but when sheets of rain blur, the windshield headlights refract into ghostly halos, and the rhythmic wipers can't quite keep up with the storm, the road can transform into a stage for horror, and three chilling true accounts of rainy night drives stand out for the way they blend the natural danger of storms with the unnatural feeling of dread that lingers for years. First is the terrifying case from rural Kentucky in 2004, where a young man named Alex was driving home from a late shift at a factory through winding country roads, the rain pounding so hard it drowned out the radio, when he noticed a figure on the roadside waving frantically for help, soaked and barely illuminated in his headlights. So Alex pulled over to offer assistance, only for the figure, a man in tattered jeans and a blood-stained flannel, to stagger toward the car muttering something about an accident. And when Alex leaned over to roll down the passenger side window, the man's face was grotesquely pale, his eyes sunken as though he hadn't slept in days. And before Alex could react, the figure slammed his hands on the glass, leaving streaks of what looked like blood mixed with rainwater. But when Alex scrambled to unlock the door to help, the figure vanished into the downpour as if he had never been there. Shaken, Alex continued driving until he reached the nearest gas station, where he told the clerk what happened, only to be met with a grave nod and the words, "You were not the first. 10 years ago, a wreck took a man's life on that stretch. Folks say he still looks for help on rainy nights," leaving Alex with goosebumps and a memory he never shook. The second story comes from a couple in Washington state in 1997, returning from a late dinner as rain hammered down on the forested highway. Visibility reduced to mere feet ahead when suddenly, their headlights illuminated a car parked diagonally across both lanes with hazard lights flickering. Assuming it was an accident, the husband slowed and pulled over behind it. But as soon as he stepped out to check, he realized the car was empty. No driver, no passengers, just the engine running and windshield wipers swiping furiously. Unnerved, he hurried back into his own car. But before he could shift into drive, his wife screamed. Two shadowy figures had appeared at the edge of the trees, one holding what looked like a tire iron, the other standing unnaturally still despite the rain lashing down. Instinct took over and he floored the gas, swerving around the abandoned car and speeding away as the figures stepped into the road, their faces never clearly visible in the storm. And later, when they reported it, police told them it was likely an attempted robbery tactic where criminals would stage a fake breakdown to lure good Samaritans. Yet the couple swore that there was something wrong about the way the figures moved. Too slow, too deliberate, almost inhuman. And though they escaped unharmed, they never drove that highway again on stormy nights. The third account is perhaps the most bone-chilling, involving a college student named Marissa in Texas in 2011, who was driving back to her dorm after visiting family. The rain pouring in relentless sheets that forced her to drive far under the speed limit, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, when she noticed headlights appear behind her, tailgating so close that they reflected off her rearview mirror and blinded her. She tried changing lanes, but the car followed. She sped up, but the vehicle matched her speed, and fear rose in her throat as she realized she was being hunted on a nearly deserted road in the middle of a storm. Finally, desperate, she pulled into a gas station, and the car stopped a few feet behind her. But when she sprinted inside to get help, the attendant looked out and said, "There's no car out there." Yet Marissa swore she had seen the beams of the headlights cutting through the rain. Until the very moment she opened the door, she insisted on waiting until morning before driving again. And later she learned from locals that a woman had been killed on that road decades earlier by a drunk driver. And ever since, drivers reported being followed by phantom headlights that vanish at the first sign of safety. A spectral warning or perhaps a vengeful spirit tethered to the endless cycle of her last rainy drive. These three rainy night driving true horror stories highlight the fragile line between reality and nightmare, where a helpful gesture can become an encounter with the dead, where the lure of an empty car can turn into a trap in the storm, and where headlights behind you may not belong to the living at all. Reminding us that on storm-soaked highways, you may not be alone in the dark even when the road seems empty, and the rain might just mask the presence of something watching, waiting, or warning from the shadows.